What up, boys and girl? I know there's at least one girl watching. So, what's up? It's Wednesday. I've had my... Oh, God. I had the stream up on my phone. Oh, no. Oh, no. Let's close it out. It's like I'm hearing myself coming out of my pocket. So, we have the Ender 6 right here. I also have the Ender 3 Max right here. But I got two packages from Creality labeled Ender 3 Max. I want to show you what Creality sent me instead of an Ender 3 Max, but also sent me an Ender 3 Max. But I have no idea what happened, but this is hilarious. So, I'm going to try to show this without showing my address. But, let's see here. As you can see here on the label... it says Ender 3 Max, okay? Right here, Ender 3 Max, okay? Now, this is definitely not an Ender 3 Max. Because I got this as like, one, this doesn't look like a printer box. Yeah. Look at this. What is this? It says no installation in your bathroom. And... there's a propane hose and a bath filter that has PP. And a shower head. It's a propane outdoor shower. I looked up the part number on it. They're like $100. I don't know what to do with it because, like, Creality doesn't even sell this. I'm assuming this got sent out from the warehouse they use in LA. And I don't know who to even contact for this. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. It's existing. So what the hell? So I have I have a propane camp shower. Aaron said if I don't want it, his dad will take it for their camper. But I was like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, how the hell does this come out? Is this a printer? I'm glad I opened this because I picked it up. I was like, this doesn't feel like a printer. Can you imagine if I did a stream and this was the unboxing? I'm just saying. Also, all of these boxes right here, this is all my Unify equipment. They got it to me all already. I got the 24-port Pro, the 48-port Pro, two of the 48 500 PoEs. These are for the shop. I'm putting the fancier ones in the house because I'm going to use the 10 gig. The shop doesn't need 10 gig. And then I've got the Dream Machine. And then two 16 ports, two 8 ports, and then one of their little flex ones. So I've already got one provision in the controller. This is for Aaron's desk. And I have even look how organized we're being with this. I even labeled the switch. Look at that. So I'm excited. I haven't refreshed our network in years. Like, I brought over all the old equipment from the condo over to here. And now we're going to have all new stuff. So, yeah. But I do have the Ender 6. I bought that from Micro Center. I have the Ender 3 Max. Bought that directly from Creality. Probably not going to get to those until next year. Sounds like so far away, but it's literally a couple of days. Yeah. Also, if you guys are brave and you don't mind, risking things. I've had people asking us about these. This one seems to be working. This one took an EasyBoard CPU when I was testing, but it seems to be okay now. I don't know what happened. But there's a disclaimer, but I did post information on how to wire up the serial connections to the serial header on our EasyBoard. You only need the 2 plugs because you're going to get the 5 volt off of the EXP3 cable. So... yeah. So there's that. I posted that out. Also made my life easier. Made some little little thermistor emulators. So these are just resistors. 510 ohms will give you 205C, and 10K ohms will give you 86. So for when I'm testing the boards to make sure they're actually reading correctly, because they should read these temperatures that are on these labels, allows me to then test all the motors, because the extruder motor won't read or move if you're under a certain temperature. So, but this allows me to test boards fairly rapidly, and make sure everything's in spec, because if there's something going on with the board, I will not get 205 and 86C. These are not going to change in the resistance. So if I see temperatures moving, I know there's something up with the board, which I haven't seen on ours, but I have seen on the, I use these actually to test the BTT version 2 boards, because people posted that there's an issue with like the voltage reference on the thermistors, and when this shouldn't move. If I plug this in an easy board, doesn't change temp, just reads 205 flat. But if I plug this into the BTT2 board I have, it'll go from like 202, sometimes it'll go to like 202, 205, 207, like it's like a waveform. Yeah. But anyways, there's our tangent for today. I do have all the parts printed for the conversion for Bertha. I just did this at like a 0.4 layer height. Here's the case that this is going to go in. This is going to get bolted onto the side of Bertha. I got the LCD screen mount done, the MOSFET mount, and then the replacement parts for the PETS thing that's on here, because it's stock bracket. This broke, so I printed a new one. So next week, at the latest, I will be taking Bertha apart and putting an easy board in it. Also, I want to show you guys that. Let's go over a couple of things here. Like I said, the way we do this, you guys are going to put your questions in the chat. I'm going to talk for a bit here, and then we'll get to answering said questions. So I do have some new things that some of you guys might be excited for, and I just want to cover the cover some new stuff here. So I'm going to go to our help center, because I'm going to get some help. So if we go to product information, for the LCDs, we got EasyBoard, and right here you see EasyBoard Lite BTT TFT 35 E3 wiring and firmware setup. So all that is required to do this is to accept this. If you connect this LCD to the screen or to our board and it kills the board, we're not covering under warranty. I'm putting it in there because, like I said, right here we had one instance where the TFT killed the CPU on our EasyBoard. So just putting that disclaimer, it's an at your own risk thing, but I did take the time to figure it out. Also noticed here on Big Tree Tech's own documentation that their TX and RS pins for the pinouts listed for this LCD are backwards. TX is RX and RX is TX. Just a little background on this, just how it works, and then, refer to Big Tree Tech's documentation for using their LCD. We're not going to help you with their firmware and stuff, so this is just how to connect it. The only thing you need to change in the firmware is you add this line here, add the define serial _ port _ 20, and that will light up those extra serial pins on the programming header. Going forward, Unified 2.16 is not out yet. It's only in a testing phase. We will just have this on by default on the EasyBoard, because it doesn't matter if it's on and it's not being used. It doesn't hurt anything. So, but if you want to play with this now and you have this screen, you do that and then you connect it. So I've got annotated images of what goes to where. So you got the RS-232 port here. This goes to the EasyBoard serial header RX0 pin. This goes to the TX0. And what I did was I just used the male to female DuPonts. So you can see here. And one thing to note is here, you see how these cables, they do have different markings. So we got like the small dashes and then the X's. I'm connected in here, small dashes and the X's. I just used a male end of the DuPont jumper to go into here. These other pins are not used. Here's a picture of the DuPont jumpers. And then here's where they go onto the header. So if you're following this guide, this is how it connects, and these colors are correct on here. But we also have the pin out here for the serial header on the EasyBoard here. So here's our RX pin, our TX pin. So yeah, it's pretty simple. Like this LCD emulates the 12864. That's what this cable here is for, and we don't need to hook up the power pins on this cable because we're getting power from this one here. So both of these need to be connected. So there's that. But using it as a 12864, you can just plug it in and it does work. But if you want to do the serial, all that this screen does is send G-code and receive G-code. That's all it does. It's just using the serial to talk to the board with G-code. So you're not going to have as many options. But like I said, the one saving grace of this LCD is that it has the dual mode. It's got the 12864 and the touch. But that screen runs its own firmware that's completely independent from ours. So if you need to make any changes or there's any bugs in the touchscreen firmware, you got to try to get in touch with Big Tree Tech or hunt around on forums and stuff to see if anybody else has fixed an issue with their stuff. But anyways, it's there. It's out. One thing that will be exciting to you guys is this. I believe this is the one I have here. Yes, it is. I told you that I would do this, and I have. And we're going to use this for when we do Bertha. So this is the EasyBoard DIY firmware. This is my first iteration of it. It is posted onto our GitHub. So if you want to check it out, it's on the 2.0.x testing branch. You can see here. Yeah, so this is up to date. So whatever is on my computer has been pushed up to the testing branch if you want to check it out. You can still use the EasyBoard or the Easy Firmware website. So you would download the DIY if you wanted to compile it. So you still don't have to use VS Code even with the DIY config because we have it so you can upload. But this will not work right now with the Easy Firmware site until this is officially released because it requires version 2.16 or higher. And you can see the EasyBoard or the Easy Firmware site is on 2.15. But once it's officially released, once 2.16 is out, and you want to use the EasyBoard for a DIY type application, you can literally just upload that config file, put the tags in, and it'll compile. So we're still going to be able to leverage our awesome cloud compile Easy Firmware site, even with the DIY config. I got notes here about what LCDs work with it. The single cable LCD, our 12864 with the dual cable LCD adapter board, or the BTT TFT. And I have a link here to the wiring. Just a note here about the SD slot. Regardless if your LCD has SD or slot or not, the onboard one will always be used. And then right now we're only supporting homing Z to the min position, which is what 99% of printers do. So let's just step through this really quick, and I'm going to show you what I did here to try to simplify the config. So if you guys ever worked through Marlin, you know it's kind of a pain in the ass. So I kind of broke out the stuff that you would need to change into simple sections. So we have our bed size here with explanations of what it is. I see I have a typo here, so let's go ahead and fix that. Let me put that onto GitHub. Maybe I'll find another one. Let's see. So there we go. I'll merge that over. All right. So, but anyways, you got your X, Y, and Z size, and then here's the motor issue or the motor direction settings. So just flipping this from a false to a true will change it. And again, there are guidance here. There's guidance here on what that does and how to do it. End stop logic settings, explaining what should be proper. And if it's showing the opposite, like it's showing open when it should be triggered or triggered instead of open, then you would reverse this here. The homing direction, so we're counting for printers that home X and or Y to the max or min position. So all you have to do is change this from a -1 to a 1. And we have other stuff that flips all the end stop stuff in the back end. Got motion settings, X, Y, Z, E steps, default accelerations, and your max accelerations, and then jerk settings. And then we have the thermistor settings. Now, I do have this firmware to default to number 1, which, like I said here, most printers use number 1 if you don't define any thermistors. But you can, if you know a Marlin value, you can use this and put your value in, uncomment these. So I've tried to make it as simple as possible for people. So we have also the baud rate setting. If you want to change it from 115/200 to 250/000, you can. These will be uncommented out, or this will be commented out by default. And this just sets the chopper timing for the stepper drivers. So you want to make sure to set that to the right one, whether it's 12 or 24. And then we have the motor current settings here, filament sensor options, and, you know, just sample easy ABL probe mounts that are already put into the firmware. So it should feel pretty familiar to everybody. But when we do the Bertha build, I'm going to actually use this firmware to go through and show you guys how to figure out what you're going to need to change depending on your printer, like moving axes, and then, okay, we got to flip this one, or this end stop needs to be inverted, that kind of stuff. So, hopefully you guys will enjoy this. Like I said, if you want to check it out, it's already on our GitHub. Like I said, you cannot compile it on the Easy Firmware site yet because it needs to be on 2.16. There were a couple of code changes I had to make to the configuration backend file and the ADV file to add support for these new features for the DIY firmware. But if you want to compile it with VS Code, it is available on the GitHub. And this firmware is just provided as is for advanced users. It's not covered under like the technical support. So like if you're buying this and think you're going to be able to have us on the phone for 4 hours working through every little thing, that's not what it is. This is put out as a convenience for people that do know what they're doing and, you know, want to use the board in their custom project. So, all right, enough rambling about that. Let me do, oh, Nick, you're sick. Nick, I will turn on the light just for you, man, before you go. Hang on, let me pull up my Home Assistant. Ready? There we go. I just heard the relay click. It should be setting in a second. Get well, man. Get some rest. Stay hydrated. Drink plenty of fluids. Gatorade. Gatorade is always good when you're sick. All right, let me pop out the chat here since we have a bunch of chat. There we go. There, Cube is live. All right, let's see here. All chat. Did I miss some chat? Oh, I can go up. Okay. I was gonna say I'm not seeing it all on the pop out, but I have it here in Streamlabs. Okay, so Ram Design has a first question of today. It says, "Hi Tim, can the pneumatic push fitting be problematic?" Yes, that's why we sell a ton of them. I'm wondering if it's cheap fittings or stock on the stock machines, or I'm just hard on them. No, it's just the cheap fittings. We sell a lot of fittings to replace the stock ones on a lot of printers. It's not you, it's just the fittings. So, yay, cost cutting. Let's see here. Nick also asked, "What is the music? It's really good." That is from 0 to Z. There's a link to their accounts and where you can get their music in the description. He's actually a friend of he's the boyfriend of my friend, but I'm also friends with him now. But I met him through 3D printing, and he makes awesome tunes. I really like his like 8-bit style music. But I see Sean came in right here. 0 to Z is the music. Yes, it's good if you like that type of music. I do. Armil's dang, Tim has quite a few boxes there. Yeah. I'm excited to roll out the new equipment, but I'm also like, oh, it's going to be a lot of work because I have multiple VLANs and all this other stuff. So anyways, Kobeer said he'd like to hang today, but he has a meeting at 1:15. Damn it. Fine. Be a quitter. David T, he's committed. I'm in a meeting right now. Let's see here. Where am I at in the chat? Okay, I'm not there yet. Tom Taylor. Yeah, so your PTFE fittings will cut into the tubing a little, but you want it to bite in. If it doesn't, then your tubing goes whoop. But if it's restricting the tube, then you make sure that you're not compressing it too much when you're tightening it down. What I'll usually do is I'll put the tube in, or I'll put the fitting in all the way, unscrew it unscrew it a quarter of a turn, shove the tubing in, and then tighten it down, and that'll hold it down in there, and that doesn't usually crimp it. I haven't had it crimp it at all. Oh, he has Capricorn. Yeah, their tubing is a lot softer than ours, so I could see it doing that. Let's see. All right, I'm almost caught up with chat here. Let's see. Well, chat on my pop-out, so I can actually send responses. Everybody seems to be doing a live stream right now. I'm not aware of it. Not a stream until Tim goes on a tangent. We already got the tangent out of the way, so there we go. There's a guy being weird. We're gonna go ahead and just remove that. Stop being weird. There's plenty of other times to be weird. There's Discord. Let's see, the shower. Outdoor showers, no shower stream. Make sure you're clean before you start printing. How can this get out of a Creality warehouse? Because how can this get out of a Creality warehouse? Because it's not their warehouse; it's a shared warehouse that stocks many products. It's like a drop shipping type thing. They ship it to the U.S. and then ships from the U.S. Let's see here. Redline's got his order from us coming. Awesome. I'm dealing now with we've been talking about USPS. USPS is still having issues. I have an order from Maw for their melon flavor, which was a pre-order, and it's just AWOL. It says it was delivered. I checked our cameras. There were no packages delivered. So, yay. Even I deal with shipping issues with my own personal shit. So, I feel your guys' pain. I am not yelling and screaming at them, though, because I understand it's USPS. But they, I did tell them, like, hey, I'll pay to reship it. Like, just give me a discount or something. That's usually what we do, is if, like, it's lost and there's no insurance. Now, on the other side, they have no way to select who they're shipping through. So, whereas with us, you can at least select, oh, I want USPS or UPS. They're just like, here's a shipping charge. I'm more of a fan of let me select my carrier, because I would tell you guys right now, if you're ordering stuff from us or anywhere else and they give you the option to select the carrier, go with UPS. You see all this Unify equipment that just showed up? This came 2 days early. 2 days early. I actually had a cigar order from Cigar Bid. Came a day early. UPS is on point right now. USPS is an absolute shit show. So, let's see. Here's another. Okay, let's see. Tripod's Garage is liking the Switch. Yeah, we sent him a Switch. I saw your video. I also, too, have one of the Big Tree Tech CR6 boards, so I'm going to play with these later. It's very low on the priority list. I just wanted to have them. And just in case, knowing Big Tree Tech quality, I bought 2 of them just in case one of them's DOA. So hopefully I get one working board. We'll find out. Craig just got his Easy Board and Easy Out installed. His wife got you for Christmas. That's an awesome wife. I'm glad. He said, thanks to you and your team for making great products and making things so easy. I'm glad to hear that, man. And remember, if you do have questions, support is literally just a click away. Go on our website, click Contact Us, and we actually get back to you. Let's see here. Richard K. Hey, Tim. I always try to catch your streams when I can. Always helpful. I got an Ender 3 6 months ago and enjoying it. What would you recommend for the first upgrades? For that machine, I would say the extruder. If it's the plastic one, the extruder. That would be my number one thing. Those break. 6 months in, you're probably having fans starting to make noise. And you might start having cracks on the extruder arm. So check your fans, check your plastic extruder if it has a plastic one. If it's got a metal one, some of them I think are shipping metal now. I think the Pros are. Someone told me the Pros are, or that's just the Ender 5s. I'm not sure. Check your extruder. But if you're having issues with getting the bed level, or Easy ABL is an awesome upgrade for any of the supported machines. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I literally use our sensors on every single machine I use. I will not use a printer without an ABL. Call me spoiled, but yeah. Alter Proxy, question for webcam. A webcam for streaming, or what to buy and what not. I started off this channel with the Logitech C922 and the 920 and then the 930. The Logitech Brio is a good in-between before you go to what I have here. I'm using Sony Alpha 6000 cameras, which are actual cameras, and I'm running them into HDMI, but you're going to drop like $600-700 on one of these setups. If you can get a Logitech Brio, I would recommend that. That's what I would probably start off. They're about $100 to $150 if you can get them. So that's what I have. These are all, like Michael was saying, these are mirrorless. So I'm using mirrorless cameras. That's what all of these are. I love them. And here's the thing, Logitech's autofocus sucks. Absolutely sucks. Whereas these Sonys, don't get a Panasonic. Their autofocus is buggy. That's why I didn't get them. I've been very happy with Sony because, like, look at, I can just, look at that. It just works. Look how quick that is. And I have it set to the center weighted. But, like, it just works. It really depends on your budget, man. That's what it comes down to. I understand not everybody's got $600 to buy a Miro setup. I can tell you right now, it was painful for me to spend that money. But now, once I did this one, I was like, okay, I really like this. So I got this one, and I have 3 of them now. So, but you don't need to do that if you're just starting off doing streaming. The Logitech Brio is a good webcam. I think that's the best webcam. But it's still, the autofocus still sucks on it. So if you're just like this talking head type thing, it's actually fine. But if you expect to be able to, like, hey guys, look at this product and have autofocus work, Logitech's not the camera for you. Yeah, and lighting. I've got a fill light here. You guys see this? I have a ring light here. Ring lights, fill lights, they're fantastic. My room's also very bright. All right. Oh, there we go. Chat jumped. All right, let's go back. I'm good at coming back here. Sean McCall says the 2154 for Ender 3 is messed up on Google Chrome browser. Is it me or your page? Well, you have to be more specific because there's 1, 2, 3 different versions of Ender 3 firmware on our page. So which board are you downloading for? Because I can check it. I checked all those links last night. Maybe SharePoint broke them again. We host them on our company SharePoint server because it's fast and we have a ton of bandwidth on it. Yeah, Benny Brady, I do agree. I do agree with Ben. I think this is the better of the touchscreens, but only because it works like a regular screen too. I think they're overrated, but I try to do things that our customers want us to do. So that's why I purchased one. I'm probably not going to use it on an actual printer. It's going to sit in my drawer. Creality 422. Okay, so if I go to the 42X board, I click download. Let's see, is it broken? Nope, I get a download. Your browser's probably caching your stuff. Clear your browser cache. So we do leverage caching. If you look here, this actually goes to a URL on our website, and that redirects to a SharePoint. So that way I can keep the links updated through our site. But if I click this here, you can see I get a download. So your computer's probably got a cached version of that redirect. So just clear your browser history. I was going to say, I mean, where there, I was like, I know I tested all those links after I pushed the update out. Great Lakes, Gunpla. He's got the SVO3 and he has a vibration on the Y-axis. He's checked the eccentric nuts, belt, swap motors, different speed, different acceleration, jerk. Turning the driver off of stealth chop makes the pattern look more like ringing, but I still can't tune it out. What am I missing? I would check and see if that motor's got a bad bearing or something. Like that's what I would recommend. Sounds like a physical issue. You could have a bad bearing. Ben Brady, this is a good question. Now that Creality is shipping 32-bit boards, what do you think, aside from your obvious profit motives, is justification for buying an easy board? So the Creality 422 and 427 boards, we do sell the 427. The 427 is a good budget board. What you get with our board that you don't get with the Crealities is, one, technical support. So if that's important to you, the web compile for the firmware. Crealities, you have to compile the VS Code. But going into better quality parts, 6-month warranty with tech support, and in terms of actual features, we have full control over our driver, so we can run linear advance on our board. You can't do that on Crealities. We have full control over the voltage reference, which means the amperage going to your motors. It can all be set from the printer LCD and the firmware. LCD or firmware, I should say. Whereas Crealities, you're busting out your multimeter, you're sticking your probe leads on, and you're taking a metal screwdriver while power is applied and adjusting it. We also have a lot more. Well, we have the same amount of memory, but the LPC chip we use is a little more efficient on the compile than the STM they're using. But for all intents and purposes, the memory, they do the same thing in terms of memory capacity. you know, but the 427 are halfway decent. I did actually do some testing because people are asking about the 427 on a CR10. I cannot recommend the 427 on CR10. The traces on the board when I was running the CR10 hotbed, which is about a 10 amp load, they were getting very warm. By very warm, I mean the 65 to 70 C range. So whereas with the 24 volt beds, you're not pulling as many amps, you're pulling like 6 to 7. And plus they have very basic generic Chinese screw terminals, and I'd be very uncomfortable pushing 10 plus amps through those actual terminals. All the terminals on our board, our Easy board, these are all made by Phoenix Contact. These terminals cost us about $1 or more. This one's about $1.50. These are a little over $1 each, whereas Crealities are 10 cents. So you get a lot better quality components. But they're still decent boards. The 422, 427 are decent boards. I'm glad to see them shipping 32-bit boards with more memory with their machines. Here's also another thing too. For the last year or two, the 8-bit processors have actually cost more because they're not making them as much than the 32-bit processors. So it makes sense from a cost standpoint for them to switch to the 32-bit ones because the processors are cheaper now. Because 8-bit stuff is kind of going by the wayside. Junie's asks, is Unified 2 available on my 8-bit Creality sign board? More than likely, yes. Go to our Unified 2 website, uf2.th3dstudio.com. I'll send you a link here. And like I said, the 8-bit boards, don't toss them in the garbage. They do get the job done. Let's see here. Dark Claw. I've seen people take a sketch. Someone just pinged me. Oh, someone at the front door? It says someone's at the front door. Oh, there's a package at my front door. Anyways, I've seen people take a Scotch-Brite pad to prep PEI before using it. Isn't needed. What's the best way to maintain PEI to extended life? So with our sheets, I do not scuff them. I do not scuff them at all. There's some companies like Wham Bam, they tell you have to scuff their sheets, because their like coating or PEX or whatever they call it doesn't actually promote adhesion. All you're doing is roughing it up so it physically has something to stick to, whereas PEI actually does stick down most plastics. I would not sand it down unless your bed is severely worn. You can like refresh most bed surfaces by giving them a light sanding to just kind of even the surface back out and give it a little more bite. But I would not recommend, especially on our plates, do not sand down the PEI unless you absolutely are having issues. And I more or less have had issues with filament than the actual surface, meaning some filaments just don't like to stick to PEI, but then I'll throw the vision miner down and then I don't have problems. Yeah, anyways, don't scuff it up. You can if you want to, but it's usually not needed on PEI. Chris P. Oh, wait, hang on. Sorry, Derek. I almost skipped Derek. What's the difference between mechanical and stuff that use the 3 wires from those using 2 wires? I got some 3-ended, and it weirdly fixed the SKR pull-up bug. So the 3 wires versus 2 wires, the 2 wires are just taking the signal and grounding it out. So they're pulling the signal pin low. The 3-wire ones usually have not only grounded signal but 5 volts. So when let's just say it's in one position. Let's say when the switch is open, it actually is sending 5 volts or 3.3 depending on what your logic is running on for your processor. When it's open, it's sending that voltage to the pin, so the pin's high. Versus the other one, it just kind of floats, which is usually fine. There's usually internal pull-ups, but basically like the 3 pins, they can go fully up or fully down. But like I said, most processors have what's called an internal pull-up. So when it's not being grounded out, that was loud. Oh, when it's not being grounded out, it goes back up to whatever the voltage the processor runs on. So 3.3 or 5. But having the 3-pin will be like, we're going that reference voltage. Okay, we're grounding out. So that gives you your state change. So your pins are just looking for a high or low signal. So, your 3.3 or 5 volts or 0. And that's what gives you the state change of triggered or open, that kind of stuff. But most of the time you can just run 2 wires. Let's see here. So I was replying to Mac. He said there's tickets suspended. Just unsuspend them, Mac. If they're legitimate tickets, unsuspend them. Occasionally Zendesk flags tickets that shouldn't be flagged. Just how it is. It does a good job. Just got to check the suspended tickets. Yeah, it'll tell you, yeah, detected as spam. Yeah, just restore them. And then it'll whitelist that person. Let's see here. Juan says, I have a question. I have one of your EasyABL pros that I noticed that the first pro point isn't registering. It has something to do with the firmware. I'm sure might you know something about this. I don't have enough information, honestly, to answer that, and it's very vague. But if you contact our support, they can help you out. What do I think, Michael? What do I think about Anycubic Mega Zero for 169? Let me look that one up. Oh, the Mega 2.0. Wait, are you talking about the Mega 2.0 or the Mega Zero? Oh, there is a Mega 2.0. Well, that's the Mega Zero 2.0 for 169. I have one, hasn't been unboxed, but I like their one. The Mega Zero 2 is the one with a heated bed. So yeah. Question: What? Never let the machines win. What happened to the little 3018 CNC rig? It's on my shelf. I haven't used it for anything, right? I haven't used anything on there yet because I haven't had time. Haven't used it to mill anything. I've actually got PCBs and some bits, but I haven't had time to mess with it. Fix the right side of my stash, man. It's driving me nuts. What's wrong? That's left with. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, Matt says we are actually shipping good. He works for UPS. What would be your go-to hot end for use with abrasive filaments? I just use the stock hot end that comes on your machine and put like a copper plated one in or a steel one. Yeah, that's about it. Nanaki says, are your thermistor cables more solid than the Ender 3 stock ones? My thermistor seems to be dying. Max temp of E1 reach even when not heating. Hopefully disconnect the thermistor and see if you're still getting that max temp. If you are, that means that somehow you're on Ender 3, so your 24 volt got into that IO pin. Which means that board is probably messed up. Let's see here. But in terms of like solid, I mean, the thermistor is usually a thermistor. Just don't be rough with them. They are delicate devices. Don't crimp when you put a thermistor in and it's got a retention screw like the Crealities. Do not tighten that down. You just want to tighten it, screw it in until it just holds the wire in place. That's all it is. That's all it's for. Jeremy Belgrove, we have firmware for the Mega Zero. He's asking about Unified and Mega Zero. We have firmware for the Mega Zero V1 and V2 on our website. So, let's see. Where are we at? Chat jumped again, so let me go back. Yeah, I agree with you, John. He said, I put the Big Tree Tech touchscreen on Ender 3 Pro. Found that I do not use the touchscreen at all. Just use the normal Marlin interface. The only thing if I do put this on a printer, I probably won't even hook the serial up. But supposedly you can change the colors. So maybe I'll just use it as a regular 128/64 screen and be able to have fancy colors on the screen. But yeah, he says the touchscreen has no benefit for me. It seems harder to do many common tasks. Yeah, I agree with you. I will say the one thing I did when I was playing with this last night is it has an option where you can actually send a G-code command and it puts the output on the screen. So that's kind of cool. So you can like do an M119 and that kind of stuff where you normally have to connect the printer to a computer. It's kind of neat. But like I said, it does make me weary because I did have one of these basically zap the CPU and I had to replace it. The CPU on our board. So there's that. That's why we have the disclaimer. Great Lakes asked my SBO3 would swapping the motors and eliminate the possibility of bearing issue. Yeah, I would say so. You said also pretty well the glass bed directly on the aluminum and the vibration was worse. That's weird. It sounds like there's something mechanical going on with that machine. Shogaya says, I would like to upgrade my CR10 mini to dual extrusion. I thought of switching to MKS Gen L V2 for that. Would that be a reasonable board choice? If you're going with, if you know what's involved with swapping the boards, and you can handle that, and then all the firmware settings, I would go with S Gen L V2, not the Gen L. The Gen L is 8-bit one. I would go with the S Gen L V2. I have their version 1 of the S Gen L here in service. It's been great, and I also have a couple of their S Gen L V2s in service, and they've been great. I definitely think if you guys are looking for a board in that form factor, go with the MKS over Big Tree Tech's SKRs. They seem to be built better. BG Savage, do you like the Mosaic Palette 2? I have the 2S Pro. It's worked when I needed it to work, and I don't use it too much. I don't really have anything that... Thanks, Samantha. I don't have anything that really requires it, but I have it here. I got a good deal on it, and I have it in case I need to do something. Yeah, Ben, I thought about doing a comparison of like the 427 versus the Easy board just to lay it out. Like I said, don't get me wrong, if you're on a budget, the 427 is a decent board. If I didn't think it was a decent board, I wouldn't be selling it. It's why, I don't sell the Big Tree Tech boards because they have too high of a failure rate. But the Creality 427 ones, like I said, for the price, they're a good budget board. Now, if you do buy the 427 from us, you can add on technical support to that board. So just like our Easy board comes with technical support, you can add on the tech support to that board. But if you don't get the tech support, then you're on your own with that. Wait, hang on. I'm sorry, Dominic. Possibly duplicate question. Microsoft's hot end or just slapping a titanium heat break into an Ender hot end? The titanium heat break would be cheaper. It's really up to you. I know a lot of people love their Micro Swiss hot ends. I had one and I got a really bad jam and I ended up throwing it out instead of trying to clear it. But I know a lot of people like them and their machining quality is good. M. Puffenberger, will you be supporting the Ender 6 with your firmware and the Easy board? I haven't even taken it out of the box, so I have no idea what's in that printer. But we'll probably be doing stuff on it. Adam Ketelak. Any major difference between the 422 and the 427 boards? 427s, as far as I know, only come with Trinamic 2225s, and they're only an aftermarket board. The 422s are shipped with printers, so they have Trinamic 2208s if you get Ender 3 V2, and the other ones have the HR 4988s, which are knockoff 4988s. But for all intents and purposes, there's really no difference between them. The 427 uses a different style package for the driver, like the actual physical chip is a different layout. And they do have firmware differences because there's pin changes, but for all intents and purposes, they're basically the same thing. When I did test the Trinamic version of the 422 that comes with the Ender 3 V2, the chips do run about 10C hotter than the 427. The 427 with no fan on it, I was seeing temps at about 50 to 55C after about 2 hours of printing, which are acceptable. Whereas with the 422, I was seeing upwards of 60 to 70. So, and that tells me that they did not put a lot of copper on these boards, which doesn't surprise me because that costs a lot. BG Savage, bet there's an AR-15 hiding inside that U.S. flag in the background. Nope, it's just a wood flag, but I do have an AR-15 because I'm in Indiana and this is America. What's the best way to enclose the Ender 5, or should I DIY or buy a pre-built? I buy pre-built enclosures because I value my time. But if you have nothing but time, go ahead and DIY it. I have an enclosure for the Ender 5 Plus from 3D Upfitters sitting outside my door here. It was like $350, so it was a little pricey, but my time is valuable. And being able to put something together in like an hour or two versus 6 or 7 hours and having to gather everything out and figure it all out and measure it, screw that. I'll pay the extra, $100, $200 to just have a solution that's done. And they do have enclosures for the Ender 5. So I'm not affiliated with them. I don't know anybody over there, but 3D Upfitters, it came here. It came in one piece. So probably will not be doing a stream on that one. That'll be very hard to... that's going to be something I'm probably going to build on the floor. So... I triggered someone's Google Assistant. Let's. Where is? Oh. Hey Google, buy everything from TH3D Studio. All right, let's go on. Hi Tim, I have a question. I have a dual gear extruder on the CR10S. Only issue I need to see if there's a way to extend. Wait, hang on. A little bit of word soup going on here, or I might not have had enough energy. Hi Tim, I have a question. I have dual gear extruders on the CR10S. The only issue is that I need to see if there's a way to extend the second extruder feeder. I have used a PTFE. Won't allow me to screw it in, so I stuffed a PTFE tube from the filament runout sensor and extruder. I have no idea what you're talking about. Honestly, I'm trying to understand. I'm not sure. Clarification would be great. So John is asking, what printer would you recommend for under $600 budget? I was looking at the CR10 V3 printer. I think the CR10 V2 and the V3 are solid printers. Just so everybody's on the same page, the difference between the V2, the CR10 V2, and the CR10 V3 is the V3 is a V2 with the direct drive already installed. They're the same printer. They actually use the same firmware. So I do have, it's sitting over there. My V2 is on the floor behind all those other boxes along with the upgrade kit. So eventually I will put a V3 definition in the firmware, which will just be a V2 with the E-steps changed and possibly the extruder direction reversed. Anything happening with the Homer printer, or is it going in the bin? They said they sent me out a driver and board, so we'll see if it shows up. That's where we're at with it. Let's see here. Mike V, also having some trouble with the BL Touch Creality V1 for the SKR E3 Turbo not homing properly. I have it pinned in the firmware to Z probe. Is it not compatible, or should I get your probe? I haven't messed with the E3 Turbo. I know the E3 Turbos were having issues with the temp sensors and the voltage rails. There were some threads in the Big Tree Tech subreddit, so I would check there. I have not messed with their E3 Turbo. The E3 Turbo is their E3 with an LPC, and I think that's their 5-driver one. But those are having a lot of temp issues. So that's fun. Jonathan Barger, is there a dual Z kit or sync kit that will fit the SVO1? Yeah, no. There's not a kit. You could measure the belting and do, like, on Bertha. I had Aaron actually design some blocks to hold some 8mm bearings in a belt. And then you take these little guys. These are like just little 8mm bore pulleys. You stick them on the top, but you have to figure out the belt length, which is fun. I'm not aware of one, but you definitely could DIY it if you take your measurements and make things to mount said things to the printer. Let's see here. I triggered Ben's Google Nest Mini. Lawrence is asking, I've seen 2208 and 2209 stepper drivers. What's the difference? If you're on a Creality printer where you have end stops, there's no difference. Here's the difference between the 2208 and 2209 chips. The 2209 is basically a newer, slightly more efficient version of the 2208, and it also has what's called sensorless homing, meaning you can ram your printer's axes into the frame and it can detect that instead of using end stops. But from a technical standpoint, the 2209s have a little bit higher amp capacity to put out. They run a little bit cooler, and they have the sensorless homing. So, but on 99% of the printers that these are going on, you already have end stops, and you're not going to need to crank 2 amps of power through the motors because you'll burn them up. So for your average 3D printer and you have end stops, the 2209, 2208, just get whatever is in your budget. I wouldn't like we have 2208s on here. they're basically functionally the same for what people use them for. They both have the same silent stealth chop tech in them. They both do the 256 interpolation. Um, it's like I said, the 2209 is just a slightly newer version. Runs a little cooler, has a little bit more amp capabilities, but we're not even maxing out the 22.8s on like even this machine that's got a beefy Y motor. I'm not gonna need to crank more than an amp through that. So, but like I said, if you have end stops, they're basically the same as a short story. Let's see. I also had a lot of issues with the, what is it? I'm blanking now. The stall guard is what it uses to detect. So, let's see here. Andre says, I got a Seer 10S Pro V2. I'm getting inconsistent layers, even though it has a BL Touch. What do you think would be causing this? Bed is manually leveled, by the way. I would check that you're using the correct starting code. I'm not sure which one that one uses, but it should be like any other one if the firmware is properly set up, where you should have a G28 and then a G29, so that'll get a fresh mesh when you start the print and then use it. I also know Tiny Machines has firmware for the Seer 10S Pro V2 with the touchscreen and the BL Touch, so I would recommend probably upgrading their stuff. They do a really good job at running the touchscreens with the bed leveling sensors. So, and I know they sell the Seer 10S Pro V2, which has the BL Touch, so they have the firmware on their GitHub somewhere. I've seen it. Thomas, I'm not sure what you mean. How can I upgrade Marlin on Ender 3 Pro with 32 bits mainboard? I'm not sure if you're asking just firmware and you have a 32-bit mainboard, or if you want to upgrade the firmware and you have the 32-bit mainboard already in there. I'm going to assume you have the 32-bit board and you want to update it. We have our firmware at uf2.th3dstudio.com. And you would use VS Code, so that printer updates its firmware if you have the Creality 32-bit board. VS Code will generate what's called a bin file or a binary file. You set your options, you compile it, copy the file to an SD card, turn the printer off, put the SD card in, turn it on, and then it'll update the firmware. So that's the gist of most 32-bit boards. All the ones I've dealt with, they actually all update over the SD. So they're not flashing over the USB like the 8-bit ones. Exile 2828. Oh god, here comes the yawns. I was up, in my defense, I was up until almost 5 a.m. last night trying to make sure we have inventory coming in. Exile 2828. Can stock from Ender 3 become corrupted? I mean, if the processor's going out, it could be. Got Ender 3 for a Christmas present for my dad. Had a bit of a scare with the blue screen after a long print 422 board, which got fixed with firmware. Yeah, it's entirely possible. I would keep an eye on it. If it does it again, I'd probably replace that board. It sounds like the processor could be defective. Matt is asking, is MKS Robin Nano 2 or the SGNL V2 in the unified firmware? No, we do not officially support that. You should just use Marlin. You can go to marlinfw.org, and I believe both those boards are supported in Marlin. So, let's see here. David, I got myself a magnetic PI spring seal sheet. I looked for a while. Is anyone actually sell just the top part? The magnetic part is already installed. Don't need another. We sell just the plates. We have the plates on our site. They're called Easy Flex, Easy Flex, and we sell just the plates. You'll see 3 listings. You'll see the magnet, the plate, and then there's a page that has both. You can order the plates and magnets for our Easy Flex system separately. They're just on a separate product page. Corey Nichols is asking, how long till the build review video? You know what? Just because you're like the 5th person to ask, how about we'll do it in March? I don't know. It is what it is. I've got such a backlog here at this point. I've got the 6, the 3 Max, the SVO2, the Mega Zero V2. I've got an Anycubic i3 Mega S, I think it is. But How about this? Anytime someone asks me when a firmware release is going to be done, I'm just going to automatically add a week onto it. How's that? Then we'll never have any updates. And not trying to sound like a dick or anything or rude. The firmware is very much, it's ready when it's ready. Sometimes I get a couple weeks when I can sit down and, really plug away at the code. Other times I have a business to run, and the firmware, unless there's a bug, if there is a bug, I usually will fix those right away. But in terms of new features, new printers, new boards, etc., that gets put to the back burner because I can't work on that if my company fails. So, yeah. So please don't ask when it's going to be done. If there is a legitimate bug in the firmware, go ahead and report that. And if there is a legitimate bug, it will get patched fairly quickly. But in terms of when new updates come out, it's whenever time is available. So, and that varies. Some weeks we have stuff that's, it's pretty light here and I can actually focus on development. Other times I'm completely slammed. So, but speaking of work, it's something I should be getting back to soon because we are coming up on 3 now. My watch just told me it's 3. So on that note, I've got a bunch of switches to get rolled out. And I appreciate everybody stopping by. I hope you guys have a wonderful new year. I'm probably not going to be streaming until the weekend at the very least. One, it's my wife's birthday tomorrow. So if you guys talk to Samantha, make sure you tell her happy birthday. And then also we are just taking time off tomorrow and New Year's Day. So we're giving the staff off tomorrow, which is New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, just because everybody needs a damn break after this shit show of a year we've had. So please be understanding. So we got caught up in about I want to say it was about 12 hours. We got caught up with all the tickets from when we were closed over Christmas break. So we're doing pretty damn good. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. I will answer Mike's last question here. Get the easy plugs in yet? Nope. It's looking like the 2nd or 3rd week in January. So I just talked to our supplier about that last night. So anyways, I hope you guys learned something. I appreciate everybody stopping by. If I don't see you guys until next year, then I hope you guys have a wonderful new year. Stay safe. I wish you many successful prints. And thank you guys for sticking through this with 2020. This year has sucked. And I think that's where I'm going to leave this. So, happy printing. Love you guys. Take it easy.